with—
Do not forget, however—
May I interpret these words? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor.
You would draw your blade. I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it.
What the heck is going on?
Wow, how utterly humiliating.
Lady Farina, what is the
Shh! It would seem that there has—
Looking for
I raised my hands just now to indicate my acceptance of— I will admit, I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. You are not the— But now, I, Farina, will use this trial to show the world this time. Applaud and reach. Mark my words. This shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine. Woohoo!
Oh, now we're making history. Why does it feel like Farina just took over Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic...
All right, then. Who will be—
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Then please speak, witness of Tivat, my accuser and fated opponent. Also, please allow me to ask, just how much work did you do?
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the task.
Navia,
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as regular audience members. The people's resentment against them. Moreover, according to our So, we arranged for a second.
So you mean the ones who—
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate—
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed at the Opera Epiclese, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Areneas, was an Archon instead of a human. My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent we had to select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up a path through the water.
So, in other words, the earthquake—
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's pop. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately ready for a fight. Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may commence without a hitch.
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of Fontaine would accept a duel with an Archon without flinching.
Thank you.
As for you, traveler, I suppose you'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived on— Oh? Is that so? Then I suppose— It's fine. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through.
Madam Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial. According to her, It should speed up the proceedings.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Hey, Charlotte! Oh, let Paimon see. Isn't this the exclusive interview that she did with us before? So she's already finished it, huh? Wait, then that means this document is a perfect timeline of everything that's happened ever since we stepped foot in Fontaine! So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence every time we want to use something from our journey as evidence for an argument! Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very... This is the first time Monsieur Nervillette had a difference of opinion with the Oratrice. Even the Hydro... A Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. Her instinct must mean something.
truly understood when something surreal happens to you.
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervy. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant, of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However,
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud.
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for first.
Charge accepted. Lady Farina. Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than—
Yeah, even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Farina can be super irresponsible, but what grounds?
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon. See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will never— If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation. We will treat everything that's happened as a dramatic spectacle and move on with our lives. What do you say to that?
Huh. An argument with near impossible odds, huh? You have to not only refute Farina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask. And if I was not the Archon—
First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess and extend—
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave?
A curse. I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
Neverlet sensed it too, huh?
Lady Farina. Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said, how does that prove that I am merely a human being? Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god, for centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the indemnitium that is used in every aspect of life.
That doesn't sound... You tried to reference...
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are...
Lady Farina, I believe while the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against the...
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority...
The real Hydro Archon. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. And it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation...
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like...
My power as an
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even...
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derived, thus did I give up all of my divine...
Isn't that...
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power?
It seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone! I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? Please?
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has...
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And all of our...
Enough! That's enough. Tell me then, if you have no...
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. That doesn't sound right. Paimon doesn't think this clue can be used as compelling evidence to build our case. doesn't sound right. It has been established that all—
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now.
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor, you must still adhere to—
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson, including the— So, Miss Farina, if we are to believe that you are indeed the— But, if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the— Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, I do hope you'll act prudently, and—
Navia from the Spina di Rosula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontainian like all the rest of us. Would she really dare to try?
Lady Farina,
Well, of course he had to tell her that, but refusing to—
She's just staring at the water without saying a single—
What's going on? Is she really planning to—
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina.
Hey! I'm fine! Look at me, Will you believe—
Miss Siegewien, if you're present, Miss
Siege, wait, don't be nervous. It'll— That should be—
Please announce the results of your evaluation.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms. She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater.
Thank you, Miss Siegewien. Lady Farina, you may return.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get—
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something entirely unexpected might occur, we don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked the head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have—
I can't believe you— Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such— Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that an art— Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water? Please, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are—
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Farina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone who's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Farina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the
No, the Oratrice...
Isn't that correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the...
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the
Farina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things so she...
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, is this sentence really appropriate for the...
Yeah! Even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the...
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title...
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it.
Mm-hmm. Any mission, Father.
Is that... So the knave privately arranged...
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. But has the trial already concluded? Then...
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to... Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
I believe I have now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her? So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real...
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make.
Okay, let's try to... The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But this must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontainians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon sin are the same thing? The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea surrounded... That reminds... Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontainians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro... We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after... That doesn't sound... That doesn't...
prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society. But not many people. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater. If we hadn't...
That doesn't...
We know from the case of the... And the first... This might... Perhaps what is about to take place has all the true sin and the original sin. It's not as simple as when Navia, the stone slates, show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon and
they'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The stone slate's content can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light. It now, so that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like...
Let's hear them.
Incredible.
We're...
All Fontainians were originally created by the late previous Hydro. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontainians could dissolve in primordial... Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone...
Indeed.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the
Hydro Archon's true sin.
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to...
Yeah, isn't the image here just like... So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate? In the end... the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already... However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should... I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontaine. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire. However, Even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanid's blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to the... Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were...
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I... Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontainian, but it does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was... Therefore, that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of... Yes, it refers...
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the fourth slate, you probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Masquerade served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes? However, I believe that rather than being a sure... As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
It was both dream...
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that...
The truth, the original sin.
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why that whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is, and once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontainians out of Ocean...
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontainians nigh Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a pact...
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale. Oh, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it is even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could
That's not something we've already done everything we can. We've come so far.
Indeed. That's not how
I'll fight it to the end.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes. What has... Just as prophecies are usually only the future, ultimately,
What's happening with the oratories?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina!
No, I still need answers.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the Opera House? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw?
So we've met it at last. I understand that whale, it has been greed, and once it is...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created...
Precisely. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea...
We just...
That is correct. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting...
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the...
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it, even if the entirety of Tevat...
We've already done... We've come so...
Indeed.
I'll fight it to the end.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Just as prophecies ultimately.
What's happening with the aura trees?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina!
No, I still need answers.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the Opera House? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
So we've met it at last. I understand that whale, it has been greeded, and once it has...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first
Precisely. That, therefore, when it left the primordial sea...
We just...
That is correct. From the way he looked, he must have been...
That battle maniac. Anyway, now that we know...
It is too late. It had already... Even if the entire...
That's... We've already done everything. We've come...
Indeed.
I'll fight it to the end. No matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future. Just as prophecy. Ultimately.
What's happening with the aura trees?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina!
No, I still need answers.